I think in every time and era, there's a certain space for every kind of character, every kind of actor. But in the tens, there was a definite void of an actor who was also a character at the same time. And it was something new in the tens, especially in 2012 when FICCI Frames happened, that protagonist was there in an unconventional film, which did commercially well.
Right.
It was never the norm in the past, so I think that was the only difference. But yeah, I'll be very honest. In 2008, when I came to Bombay for the first time, Ranbir Kapoor made his debut, and there was this void of actors in their 20s. Like most of the actors were in their 30s or 40s. There was no young actor in the 2000s, and Ranbir made the entry. I was like, "Ab to ye aa gaya, main kya karunga?" Then Ranveer Singh happened in 2010 or 11. I was like, "Ab ye bhi aa gaya, main kya karunga?" So I had no option but to tread the unconventional path. And fortunately, it worked for me because Kshutit Sarkar saw something in me. I was an anchor on television. So he was like, "Yehi hai." So I was like, okay. So I didn't even audition for that film. So yeah, I was quite fortunate like that.
But remember you telling me that you rejected like 6 films before FICCI Frames, right? Because somewhere you feared that as a newcomer, if you went wrong, you wouldn't get a second chance. I mean, that's a lot for a newcomer too, right? To have that kind of confidence.
I was very secure in my own skin. I was a television presenter that time, and that was the time when I was interviewing actors, and I was learning from them their mistakes or their successes or whatever they used to do. So I had this notion in my head that अगर मेरी पहली picture नहीं चली तो मुझे दूसरा मौका नहीं मिलेगा. And I had gotten like 6 chances before. I was like, but it didn't resonate with me, the script. But FICCI Frames was such a breath of fresh air. And Kshutit Sarkar was such a not commercial director, but a very credible director. And I always thought that this film will earn a lot of credibility. But commercial success was beyond expectation, so it was just a windfall.
Right. But as your film started working, Dum Laga Ke Hai Shah, Vicky Donor, Shubh Mangal, the audience was applauding you, the media loved you, and they called you trailblazer, trendsetter, all of that. Were the chances that you were taking become less risky? Because I remember once you said that as you get more success, you're also more fearful of what could go wrong.
I have built the entire career of mine on risks. I just cannot not take risks. I can't really see myself in a typical commercial pot boiler. I don't know. I've always been an unconventional actor. So I had to take risks. The only trip in life is just to do something which is out of the box and novel, and probably the first attempt in Hindi cinema. Throughout the filmography, it's been the norm कि ये पहली ऐसी film होनी चाहिए. So it's that trip in my head, I guess. I don't know. I don't think about the outcome of the film, but I only think about it should be engaging, entertaining. But number one priority is it should be the first step towards that direction.
Right. Also, interestingly, you work with a lot of first-time directors. Is that also because you think they have the same courage to push the boundaries like you do, same courage to take the risk that you love taking?
Yeah, most of my films are with first-time directors. Even last two, Dr. G and Action Hero, first-time directors. I don't know. I really think that the kind of risk-taking capability of a first-time director is far more than a seasoned one. And the kind of scripts that I get, by default, they are with the first-time directors. So I don't know. It's also I think about the budgeting of the film. My films are not like mounted at 100 crore scale or something like that. So the success of the film depends on the budget. So they're always within a budget, and it's easy to do the budget with the first-time director also. So it's just more practical.
So it all works out
already the script, the subject is novel and it's risky, as I say, out of syllabus for Bollywood. So it has to be in a certain budget. So it just works out well.
So, there was a stage you reached, Ayshmann, where you had back-to-back, like a series of 6, 7, like hits, right? And, I can't say you made a niche for yourself. It's a small word. I would say it's like you were a genre. You made a genre for yourself. That's fascinating and rare. So, firstly, I want to ask you, was that very flattering? And secondly, did you at some point feel there was a lot of onus on you to constantly deliver films in that genre? And, you became like the face of changing cinema. And it comes with a lot of pressure too.
I never thought like that. Probably it's a default setting. It's by default, I think, not by design purely. I just focus on one film at a time. That this film should be of a certain space and, should engage the audience in a certain way, or maybe give some intrigue. And I know that there were back-to-back 7, 8 commercial
right.
successes. All were unconventional. But I never thought that I'll be making a genre for myself, like it would be called an Ayshmann Khurrana genre. It's too much to think about. I just take one film at a time. I was doing my own thing. That's it.
Right, yeah. But you were the face of changing cinema. Were you like really proud of the change you brought about in our cinema with that? Like, because after, you know, the Ayushmann wave happened, filmmakers realized that you don't always need tentpole films. You don't need large-scale budgets. You could have a star like Ayushmann and a great story and work on the content and deliver such great cinema.
I think this conspiracy theory is changing every film after pandemic. Like initially, people were thinking only big ticket films will work. Then they were thinking, no, now Kantara has also happened. And then Drishyam 2 happened. Then we're thinking only franchises will work after Bhool Bhulaiyaa 2 and Drishyam 2. But I think if you go out there to make an engaging film which appeals to a larger segment of audiences, I think you are home. So we're all in that self-discovery phase after pandemic. And I think if it's made within budget and released at a good time and space, I think it'll have its own share.
Yeah. So when you said you set your mind to break the mold, we've grown up on a certain kind of hero who looks a certain type, walks a certain way, speaks a certain way, right? You were nothing like that, and you broke the boundaries, and you are where you are today. But was there any fear of perception, because it was a huge perception to break, right?
Yeah, I think again I'll go back to my first answer where I had to just use my own space, and there was a certain void of that kind of a protagonist who was not larger than life, who was real, who was imperfect at the same time, and I made that route mine. So it's the timing. Yeah, I seized it maybe. So even moving forward, I'm not really obsessed with my own character. I'm just obsessed with the stories as a whole. I may not be the main driver of the story. The characters around me are also very, very strong, be it somebody like Jaideep Alav, an action hero, or Rajkumar Rao in Bareli Ki Barfi, Gajraj Rao in Badhai Ho, Bhumi Pednekar in Dum Laga Ke Aisha, Tabu in Andhadhun, Neena Gupta also in Badhai Ho. So it's well rounded, it's not just about you. Exactly. It's about the story. So I think stories excite me.
Right. But if you look back, you have so many memorable characters. Any one that you would like to revisit or relook at or rewrite if you had to? Or do it differently?
I don't think I can do anything differently. I have like no regrets or nothing. I just move on very quickly. I'm very detached as an actor, which is very important to be detached, because if you're doing 3 films a year and you're attached to your character, you just can't, it's too much of a baggage. I was shooting Andhadhun and Badhai Ho simultaneously.
Right. 2
different films, 2 different genres, a guy next door in Delhi and probably a warped musician in Pune. So I think there were 2 different characters, and it was not easy if you are taking that character home. So it's very important to be detached.
Nervous. Are there any moments of insecurity, like, can I pull this off?
Always. I think when you have lived-in experience of a character, it becomes easier.
Right.
Andhadhun and Article 15, these were the 2 films which I had no lived-in experience. So you put in more homework or extra work, and there's certain method to it. But I used to be a method actor in college when I used to do theatre. But over the years, when I started anchoring, did radio, journalism, I started believing in my gut and intuition. I started reacting more than acting. It really depends on the actor who's in front of you. So you just can't over-prepare. But certain films, yes, like Anek or Article 15, Andhadhun. Action hero also to some extent, because that was like my first in action, and in that world, I'm not that person at all. So, yeah.
So I do want to talk about action hero, because you've always spoken about how you've grown up on like larger-than-life cinema, and you love that kind of cinema. But last year was the first time we saw you do an all-out action film, and it's interesting because even that was kind of anti-casting, because they cast you because you were not the quintessential action hero. So somewhere the quirk never leaves a package. It never leaves you, right? You come with that package always in whatever you do.
What I've learned from the pandemic is that I may not do taboo subjects on celluloid. If it's relatable, it has to be quirky for sure. An action hero, as I said, I'm not really obsessed by making myself look different on screen, on celluloid, but it has to be a different story for people.
Right.
An action hero was relatable, it was topical, it was me versus them, like whatever happened, boycott, #boycott Bollywood in the past couple of years, it was everything was there in that film.
It was a masala film.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was very different. It was very exciting for me, I think.
Yeah. But was it also a step in a direction for you to, for a while at least, move away from, the social dramas you've been doing? Because that wasn't really, that was like an all-out masala film.
Of course it was. That's why it required a lot of homework. While I was shooting for Dr. G, I was preparing for Action Hero. I was taking MMA training and everything.
Right.
And since I'm not that person who's... Like Action Hero, I think that star in the film,
Right.
Manav, is very self-obsessed. He's arrogant also at the same time. And he goes beyond self-awareness. So that was not me. So it required a lot of homework. And yeah, it was a welcome change for me. But even now, if I get a social comedy, which is fresh and which is entertaining, I'll just go for it.
Right. And you've got Dream Girl 2 coming up.
Yeah.
Yes, and
But
that's again a very, completely in the
it is, again,
masala zone, right?
I don't think anybody has seen a commercial film where the protagonist is playing a girl after 𝗙ecie 𝗄𝗽𝗋.
Right.
So it's been a while. And again, there's a void for that kind of space and humor. And it's really exciting. I think it's Dream Girl first one in steroids. I think it's like that. Yeah.
I remember you telling me that, after every 2-3 films, you need to do something which is away from your core. Do you still maintain that? I mean, your films are anyway shocking subject-wise for us, and then you push it a step further.
I recently did that with Action Hero. So I don't know, moving forward, I would love to do something which is again different. And it was my first, brush with action, and would love to do that again in future as well.
Yeah. You always said that the kind of actor that you're kind of out of syllabus when it comes to commercial Hindi cinema. So do you want to continue being a part of that syllabus and evolving in that space? Or do you want to start a new chapter and look at some other textbooks?
There is no rule, I think. To break the rules, you should know the rule to begin with. And
But you've rewritten the rules. You have, right?
it's just not me. I think after Vicky Donor, there was a certain void of certain kind of scripts. I could not really touch that benchmark for another 2-3 years. It started happening with Dum Laga Ke Haisha. So the onus also goes on to the script writers and the directors who believed in me, and there were no commercial actors ready to do that film or genre.
Right.
So they had no choice. So I
it
guess
had to be you.
yeah. So I'm glad it happened.
Right.
And in future as well, I would love to explore something which is novel, out of the box, and the first attempt in Hindi cinema.
Yeah. So irrespective of whatever genre you do, Ayshmann, what is the one thing you cannot take out of Ayshmann Khurrana? Irrespective of whatever genre of film you do, what is the one thing that you cannot take out of Ayshmann Khurrana as an actor?
I think the simplicity.
Sorry?
The simplicity. I keep it simple. I just don't try too hard. I wanted to be as organic and flowy as possible. And also the camaraderie with my co-actors. There's no insecurity because I come from a theater background, and when you do theater, you're also ready to do roles which are cameos. For example, 𝗂𝗽𝗋 𝗖𝗵𝗲, for example.
Right.
I take it like a theater workshop. My mentor, Sujit Sarkar, he directed that film. He asked me for that film. I was like, there was no way I can say no to him.
Right.
So even if Bachchan Saab is taking the mantle and he's taking it forward, I'm ready to be just like a fly on the wall. So you can't just take that out of me.
What about the quirk that never leaves you?
As I said, I have no option but to be risky. And I think taboo is one thing I can get rid of for a while, but not the quirk.
Okay.
I have to stay with that.
Yeah. I know a lot of people over here know this, but I remember last time we were talking, you spoke about how you actually don't watch as much movies. You listen to more music than you watch movies. So you're not the rare actor who also is a musician and an actor. Tell us a bit about that.
There's a notion that a lot of people think that people who are consumers of art, they're also creators of art. They are not.
Right.
Like if you consume a lot of films, you have a lot of knowledge about films, and but that doesn't mean you can create.
Absolutely, yeah.
So to be an actor or an artist, you need to live life. They're all lived in experiences. You need to meet different kind of people. Go out there, go to smaller cities, interact with people. I make it as an exercise when I shoot in smaller cities. I make friends with the driver or local production guy over there. उनके घर से खाना मंगवाता हूँ, उनसे बात करता हूँ, उनसे क्रिकेट खेलता हूँ, ताकि उनकी ज़िंदगी के बारे में कुछ पता चले. Like otherwise we live in a void. We live in that bubble कि हम actor बन गए and there's no growth per se. So if it gives you fodder for the characters you're playing on screen. So by of course, you need to watch films, but you cannot be consumed by watching films. But yeah, coming back to music,
Right.
I think music is my first love. I discover a new artist every single day,
Yeah.
and I love indie music. I love ghazals, Sufi, every kind of
Your
genre.
taste in music is also very eclectic, right? You would tell
Yeah,
me about
I
these new
think-
artists you keep discovering.
I do.
Yes.
मैं फिल्मों के बिना रह सकता हूँ, मैं म्यूजिक के बिना नहीं रह सकता.
So would you say that your life experiences has actually made you a better actor?
Definitely. I was blessed that I started a theatre group in Chandigarh called Aaghaz and Manch Tantra. We were like 15 odd driven students, and we used to travel length and breadth of the country, and we were just 18, 19-year-olds. So that also makes me better with Indian languages, because every 10 kilometers the language
Right.
changes, and you meet people from like the lowest common denominator, and you interact with them. So the induction was very early in life.
Right.
So I think it really helped.
Right, right. So lastly, I want to ask you, Ayshmann, the kind of cinema that you've done all these years are way ahead of its time in many ways, like. And you are one person, I don't think mediums matter for you, because you started in radio, and here you are today, a big star on the Indian screen. Are you fascinated by the OTT medium, by the digital medium? And does that draw your interest?
I think it's a renaissance. It's a huge revolution, not the... we are in renaissance right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a creative renaissance of sorts.
Yeah.
When you talk about OTT, I think it's like IPL. There's emerging talent, and there's space for a lot of people. And, there's great talent out there. And all we need to do is choose the correct medium for a correct project.
Right.
That's the learning from the pandemic. But I think I love OTT, whatever is happening there, especially I recently watched 𝗵𝗍. My brother's there.
Yeah,
So I'm
of
so
course.
proud of him, and I loved everything about that show. And yeah, that's the only thing. And no medium is small, be it television, radio. अगर आप एक artist हैं, आप theatre पे भी खुश हैं perform करके. So if you're an artist, you should just be there in any medium. It doesn't really matter.
Right. And lastly, for an actor who's made his own genre of films, is there any genre that you would like to explore which you haven't up until now?
The horror comedy, it's a hint.
Horror comedy?
Yeah.
Okay.
It may happen soon, and I'm really excited about it.
So will we probably see you, are you
Yeah.
exploring that right now?
Yeah.
Super. So we'll see you in that genre. Yes, but it'll have that Ayushmann quirk, I assume.
Definitely, it has to be there. Otherwise, I don't know, it just has to be a little different. Otherwise,
Right.
it doesn't excite me anymore.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ayushmann. It was lovely talking
Thank
to
you,
you. as
Madhurita. Always exciting
Thank
talking to you.
everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone.
So you spoke about the general challenges before the sector and how it is growing. So how is government going to play the facilitator's role, sir, and regulate less?
टुडे आज जो है EY की रिपोर्ट को रिलीज़ किया गया, जिसमें ये दिखाई दिया कि वर्ष 2022 में मीडिया एंटरटेनमेंट सेक्टर भारत का 2 लाख करोड़ का टर्नओवर क्रॉस कर गया है। और ये पहली बार हमारा ऐसा हुआ है जो हमने 2019 का जो प्री कोविड लेवल था उसको भी मीडिया एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री ने पार कर दिया है। और पिछले वर्ष में मीडिया एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री ग्रोथ लगभग 20% से अधिक की हुई है। ये एक बहुत क्रेडिटेबल सक्सेस स्टोरी है, क्योंकि मीडिया एंटरटेनमेंट हमारा 20% प्रति वर्ष पे ग्रो कर रहा है, और अब हम जो $25 बिलियन को भी क्रॉस कर चुके हैं। एंड वी आर श्योर दैट द मीडिया एंटरटेनमेंट इंडस्ट्री विल ग्रो एट अ very fast pace, much faster than the GDP of the country, and will continue to grow. And media entertainment sector now is being liked. What we are creating is being shown throughout the world. इस बार हमारे को 2 ऑस्कर मिले, जो हमने देखा कि RRR और एलिफेंट विस्परर, इनको 2 ऑस्कर भी मिले। और जो नेटफ्लिक्स, अमेजन पे और बाकी OTTs पे जिस तरह का हमारा कंटेंट जाता है, वो पूरे वर्ल्ड में देखा जा रहा है, विविध भाषाओं में उसको कंज्यूम किया जा रहा है। और नेटफ्लिक्स और अमेजन के लोग बताते हैं कि कई देशों में जो हमारा कंटेंट है वो कई बार फर्स्ट 10 में आता है।
What are the many more facilities are the media people are going to get as we see, whether it's the filmmaker, whether it's the director, whether it's the producer, any?
Last time during the Cannes Film Festival, we had announced the incentive package for the shooting in India, for foreign films coming to India and shooting in India. The same extends to if any film does the animation, visual effects, gaming, etc. also in India. For that also we are giving incentives. Those incentives are very substantial. We have already released incentive over ₹1 crore to the first project, which is Inheritance. This project has been released that incentive last month in March, and now there are another 3 or 4 projects which are already in the pipeline. More and more projects are coming in. This incentive policy is a success, and we want more films to be shot in India.
So you spoke about one of the initiatives that was about digitalization, where fans and film enthusiasts can pay for digitalization. What is that initiative?
With the support of fans, we would like more and more films to be digitized and restored. Currently, the National Film Heritage Mission is going on at Pune through NFDC. Now it has been handed over to NFDC. And there we are digitizing more than 3,000 films, 3,000 feature films and shorts also about 2,000. Then we are restoring about 2,000 such films. And government is spending almost 500 crore rupees on this project. All the contracts have been awarded. And new fresh vaults are also being created in Pune. But as I said, that only about 2,000 feature films are covered under restoration and about 3,000 in digitization. And the number of our heritage is very large. Government cannot pay for all the films. And so I call upon the fans and those who love films. We will come out with a list and they can choose their own favorites, and we will come out with a scheme so that they can pay for the digitization and restoration, and we will do it.
So you spoke about NFDC
के बारे में आपने बताया, नेशनल सेंटर फॉर एक्सेलेंस, तो मुंबई में कहाँ शुरू होने वाला है और कौन से कोर्सेज वहाँ पे रहेंगे?
नेशनल सेंटर ऑफ एक्सीलेंस के लिए महाराष्ट्र शासन ने हमें 20 एकड़ जगह गोरेगांव फिल्म सिटी के अंदर दी हुई है, और यहाँ पर हमें नेशनल सेंटर फॉर एक्सीलेंस बनाना है। पर अभी वहाँ पर हमें कंस्ट्रक्शन करने में कुछ समय लगेगा, क्योंकि कंस्ट्रक्शन करते करते वहाँ 3-4 वर्ष का समय लगेगा। इसलिए हमारा विचार ये है कि जब तक वहाँ बनता नहीं है तब तक हमारे पेडर रोड के ऊपर जो फिल्म डिवीज़न का जो बिल्डिंग्स हैं वहाँ पर हम जो है उसमें टेम्प्रेरी रूप से क्लासेस शुरू कर सकें। अभी हमारे को गवर्नमेंट की परमिशन जैसे मिलती है केंद्र सरकार की, तो हम उसको FICCI और CII की पार्टनरशिप के अंदर उसको चलाना चाहते हैं।
So in the past, NFDC has backed films like Gandhi, Jaane Bhi Do Yaaro. You spoke about NFDC getting back into the entire idea of producing backing films up. So what should we expect going forward, sir?
The NFDC was producing major films in the past. Of course, now NFDC is a co-producer of the film Mujib with government of Bangladesh. That film is almost ready. That is on the life of Mujibur Rahman, who is the father of Bangladesh, and that film is going to be released during this year. Apart from that, NFDC has budget to support small film producers. We are not into the large film game, and those who don't get really the opportunity to produce films on a larger scale, and because there are so many film producers, so much of talent in the country who would like to produce films, so we want to give them an opportunity.
You are from Maharashtra, and you are an alum of IIT Delhi.
Yes, I am from Maharashtra cadre. आणि मी मराठी बोलू शकतो.
That is nice. Okay. Look,
मी यांना विचारलं होता तुम्ही मराठीत प्रश्न विचारा तर मी मराठीतच बोलू.
but I unfortunately don't know Marathi as well as you know. So, the media and entertainment industry is getting disrupted. There is no doubt about it. First through the digital stuff, now AI will further disrupt it significantly. It obviously brings challenges, but equally brings a lot of opportunities, if I may say so, in terms of innovation, in terms of bringing out content, which is very, very different. Social media has democratized content. It could be news, it could be media, it could be any form of content. And therefore, it's really challenged the legacy businesses. It could be any of the businesses, it's challenged them. Comes with its opportunities and many challenges. Opportunities is new revenue monetization models, which is an amazing opportunity. Reach, which is amazing. Challenges, many. Misinformation, which you're always concerned about. You could call it fake news, you could call it misinformation. It could be regulation of OTT content. You just spoke about it in the morning about self-regulation, and therefore and it could also be the balance between big tech and media companies. Okay, how big tech, is able to monetize but does not share the spoils because they're constantly using the same content. So many challenges. Now, the ideal situation is everybody finds a balance. The old legacy media, while the big tech, and the new media organizations, and find a balance. But that is there are many challenges, if I may say so, as we get to finding that balance. So, given this background and given all that is happening, what is your idea of balance here between legacy media organizations, which could be news or content, and the other side is social media and big tech stuff?
Yeah, you have raised 2 or 3 issues in the same question. One is, of course, the misinformation and fake news, because now social media, it is largely user-generated content. There is less of editorial, anything which is editorial, who are looking at it and curating the content and looking at the genuineness of that content. So the chances of misinformation, fake news, they are much more. In fact, after me, I think Ishan of YouTube is following after me, and you could ask Ishan also the challenges which he faces on the content which is coming on YouTube. We are constantly in conversation with all the social media intermediaries, whether it is YouTube, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Telegram and others, on how to prevent misinformation and fake news on these platforms. It is a continuous dialogue, and they have to come up with more of tech solutions, especially in our country where there are multiple languages, because I think their AI is more proficient in probably English, but here in India, because there are multiple languages, the content also comes out in various languages, and it is very fast. The user-generated content comes out, and there are multiple challenges on how to prevent that. The second issue which you raised was regarding the balance between the traditional media and the big tech. So there again, there have been some cases in the international jurisdiction, especially Australia, Canada, and then EU also is trying that. So to bring about a balance between the content creator and the intermediaries who are making that, taking it to the people. It is in a way a symbiotic relation also, because the big tech has helped more and more people for the media to reach more and more people. Otherwise, it would not have, the reach would have been limited. The print media is a certain clientele who can read and write, but then with big tech, it is going to much further. And that balance, but that balance has to be there between the content creator and the intermediary. So there are international some experiences. Currently in India, the case is going on before the Competition Commission of India. And we are awaiting the judgment, how that happens. And we are also in dialogue with the digital publishers. So whether that if legislation is required, whether that will be under competition law or a separate legislation will be required on the lines of what has been done in other countries. So this is an evolving field, and we are working with the industry in this area.
I like the way you answered both misinformation or fake news, and you spoke about the balance. And in both cases, I think you formed the nodal part of the government in terms of managing this scenario, in terms of administering it, in terms of building unison, if I may say so, between the industry and big tech. And therefore, you think the industry can do something more to come together and help solve some of these causes?
See, on the OTT, which also you mentioned previously, because before we came out with the digital media rules in 2021, there was no particular regulation. And the OTTs were faced with FIRs. Anybody who is dissatisfied with content would file a FIR in some remote part of the country, and people would be saddled with police cases. Now the digital media rules have helped a lot in the sense that now there is a particular framework that in case if somebody is dissatisfied, and there is a 3-tier structure that first, if they are dissatisfied, first they go to the OTT platform itself. And if they are not able to resolve, then the second tier, which is headed by eminent personalities. And it is again a self-regulating body which the OTT platforms themselves have created. And that is also doing very well. And as I mentioned in the morning also, thereafter the government. As regards the OTT platforms, we have received only one complaint so far over the past 2 years, so that shows that it is working pretty well. So this is a light touch approach to regulation, and we would like the same approach to work in other sectors also. The same we had adopted in the under the cable television network for the TV broadcasters also, Unfortunately, they have gone to court, and currently there is stay on actions. So, but we feel that this is the right approach. This is light touch regulation, and it works much better than a hard regulation, and that is what has seen to the profusion of content getting created in India. So much of content is getting created, so much of money is getting invested into new content creation in the country.
I'm going to just shift as industry. Prasar Bharati is very much part of industry, but it's under your aegis. How is Prasar Bharati transforming itself as it builds on this journey?
We have a new CEO who would also be, I think, who is speaking later on this platform. And Prasar Bharati, again, over the past few years, we have seen that not much of content is getting created on Prasar Bharati. He will explain it in more detail, but then within this month itself, I think many new serials are going to come on Prasar Bharati. Prasar Bharati is undergoing a transformation, and just 10-15 days back, again, new films have started coming back on Prasar Bharati, which were not there for a few years. Regional films also will start, and fresh content is also getting created. In fact, today at this forum, we would like to invite others also, because to participate in this transformation of Prasar Bharati, and more on a revenue sharing mode where Prasar Bharati puts in some money. You also become a part of the marketing so that both can share if the program does well. It should not just be the responsibility of Prasar Bharati to pay for the program and then market it also and not earn any revenue out of it. So both should become a party. We would like it to be a partnership between Prasar Bharati and private producers.
Interesting. You made quite a pitch as you sat here. You're becoming a marketeer, Mr. Chandra. You know, I'm going to move on from regulation and challenges to how can this industry grow. In the vision document, we spoke about, the government's been speaking about, that 1% of GDP should be media and entertainment. That's $100 billion in the next 5-6 years. We have what, $20 billion roughly in terms of overall media and entertainment. What are the 2 or 3 things you think the government is doing to unlock that potential?
Today, I mean, the EY report was unveiled, and about $25 billion the media and entertainment industry. So it is just a bit below 1% of the country's GDP. And also it is about 1% of the world's media and entertainment industry. So we have to grow this percentage per se. And the country, as we know, today it is a $3 trillion economy, and we are soon going to be within the 3-4 years, we are going to cross $5 trillion and reach 10 trillion in the next 10 years or so. And the media and entertainment industry has to grow beyond 1%. We have to go to 2%, maybe. I mean, and we are growing at a faster pace than the country. And the world is interested in Indian stories. The world is interested in to learn more about India. We have the stories, but we are constrained by infrastructure. We are constrained by manpower. So that is what we need to facilitate. The industry and the government need to work together in that. As regards incentives, because to attract more and more filmmakers to come to India, the government of India announced its incentive package last year in June. We are happy that we have released the first incentive of over 1 crore to a particular film called Inheritance. And there are 4 or 5 other projects in the pipeline. And many of the states are also offering incentives. So when we go for co-production, it is all the incentives get clubbed. The state incentive, the government of India incentive, and the incentive from the foreign country. So that is what we have to look at, and it becomes an attractive proposition for anyone to come and shoot in India. Also for animation and visual effects, the government of India has opened the incentives for animation, visual effects, and post-production. We want to simplify the process by which the animation and visual effect incentives are given, make it much simpler than shooting incentives. And most of the large Hollywood productions do come to India for post-production, and we hope that these incentives will make it even more attractive.
Well, you know, but one of the things you said was people, and therefore the people involved in that. AI is going to change that significantly over the next few years. You will see more and more content which is AI created. You know, is the government thinking ahead on that space also, or should they think about it? One of the learnings we have is when you don't regulate such spaces over a period of time. And I just heard Harit say, don't regulate. But equally, when you don't regulate, there is other businesses which die and new businesses come and play. And it's not an equal playing field. So as AI comes in, is there forward-looking thinking on that?
As Mr. Vaghela also said before me, that less regulation is the best regulation. I would think, don't give me ideas to regulate. Don't give the government ideas to regulate more and more. Let the industry grow.
You know, I love the thought. Less regulation is much, much better. But equal playing fields are important so that everybody is able to unlock their potential. Now, the last question I'd ask as we just summarize this. You know, you spoke about incentives, you spoke about various programs, you spoke about what the central government is doing, what the state government should be looking at. And a couple of thoughts on what the industry should be doing to unlock that potential.
The industry, of course, is doing its best to reach its stories to the world. There are a lot of stories in India, and we should go more to the hinterland, I would think, and take stories from the ground level. There are a lot of stories to be told. In fact, if people here have seen the conclave which we conducted on the 𝗵𝗶𝗰𝗶 program of the Prime Minister, for which the 100th episode happened just on 30th of April. There were almost 100 people in Delhi, and each of them had their own story of what they are doing, how they are transforming the country. And all of these stories, in some way or the other, they are important stories. They need to be told to the world. They need to be told to the country, and these are the stories which need to be carried. Apart from that, our culture, our heritage, there are so many stories hidden in that, and that we need to take ahead. And the world, I'm sure, is interested in our story, and the world wants to know more about India as the heft of India in the economy in the world grows. And we look forward to support and facilitate the media and entertainment industry to take this forward. Thank you.
Exciting times. Clearly, you know, as we unlock and play to our potential, look forward to do it in partnership, industry and the government, so that we can unlock that part. Thank you. Thank you.